Miami Vice, The Florida Burn, Part 3. From where we left off, their limo tooled away, and Calderon's limo nosed into the debarkation zone. Calderon stepped out, lithe as a Cuban dancer, and entered the club between his two goons. Tubbs killed his engine and stashed his sawed-off shotgun beneath the front seat, stuffing the blanket in behind it. From the glove compartment, he broke out a police-issue .357 Magnum loaded with wad cutters and jammed it into the breakaway upside-down shoulder holster rig he was already wearing. He strolled nonchalantly to the blast door and nodded at the doorman, who rolled his eyes and looked elsewhere. The door swung inward, and a shock blast of high-powered synthesizer music rattled his guts. The interior was as glittery as a jewelry shop, all flash and filigree and high decibel, mind-creaming, skull-pulsing sound. Incredibly, Tubbs recognized it as a disco permutation of Rod Stewart's "Do You Think I'm Sexy?" He wandered into the crowd and mingled, tacking on the bar which ran the entire length of one wall. The colors were the glitzy neon of a Quaalude nightmare. The odors were of overpriced perfume and the earthy sweat of the mating dance. The bar seemed to be made out of a mile-long hunk of solid Italian marble. Throughout the room, skin and century notes were being flashed with calculated abandon. Smarmy designer jean magnates slapped down exhausted moves, trying to pick up a bored-looking chicken before the sun rose. Coked-out ingenues assessed the fish surrounding them and selected their kills. Novo hip bagmen clinked their glasses with 4 bills per night hookers. Pieces of jailbait in black leather smoked galoozies and squinted, looking for kicks. Lacking kicks, they'd take anything negotiable. Upscale pot smugglers flaunted their lack of style by swigging Budweiser from the bottle. Tubbs looked over his shoulder and said "Martell" to the nearest barkeep. A snifter clinked on the marble in response, and Tubbs took a whiff before sipping. The glass to his face, he spotted Calderon's table just as a waiter wheeled away from it. Tubbs followed the white coat through the throng with his eyes until it parked at the bar and loaded up a tray with 6 flutes, a magnum of Cristal, and some mixed drinks full of ice. Tubbs caught the guy's attention as he passed on his way back. Tubbs leaned in close, and his whisper was understood even against the din of the crowd and the thumping music. The waiter nodded and pocketed the $100 bill Tubbs pressed into his palm. A woman with mountain pass cleavage and pink and blonde hair was shouting into his ear. "What?" Tubbs yelled back. She held up a tiny silver straw in invitation. "Gotta go powder my nose," she said, eyes twinkling with an all-night high. "There's room for 2 in my back seat. Wanna come?" The waiter did his act. After setting the Cristal and fluted glasses on Calderon's table, he overcorrected and sent the mixed drinks into the lap of the drug kingpin. Total calamity. Calderon bolted to his feet in a torrent of Spanish epithets directed at the waiter, who bowed and scraped and looked up from the floor long enough to get his face slapped. The little Colombian was livid with anger at this horrendous social gaffe. It had happened in front of his guests, in this case 2 middle-aged entrepreneurs of questionable means and a trio of jaded, drug-dazed aerobics lovelies turned out in silk. When the waiter grabbed up a wad of cocktail napkins and tried to blot Calderon's silk suit, the bodyguards were posted several yards off to either side of the booth, rushed to protect their master with Doberman speed and ferocity. Tubbs grinned to himself. It was worth the sentry note just to watch the display. The goons pulled the waiter and shoved him away. He brushed his lapels, shot his cuffs, and glided back to the bar, his extra tip fully earned. More babbling. Everyone was offering to help Calderon, as Tubbs had hoped. He brushed them off with an exaggerated gesture. No, really, I'm all right. It's okay. I just got to go to the men's room, you know. He backed out of the group. The bodyguards restored order at the booth. The paunchy nobodies sat down and resumed groping the party girls. Calderon weaved through the crowd and made for the neon-lit corridor marked restrooms, telephones, fire exit in 2 languages. "Am I crazy, or are you not paying any attention to me?" said the pink blonde with the overeager chest. She blinked mock innocently and cracked her gum. "You're beautiful, honey," Tubbs assured, "but I gotta go see a man about a giraffe." He patted her cheek and moved into the throng. Calderon's bodyguards had not followed him to the John. Tubbs ducked quickly into the corridor. Checking his piece for loads was stupid. He knew it was loaded, and he knew what those loads could do. Wad cutters pancaked when they hit and tore away a lot of gristle. And we will leave it there. How did I end up in the woods?